Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I hope good. It's been a while. It's been like a month since I've done a video. And I apologize. I was sick for a little bit there. I had the stomach and the cold flu at the same time, which wasn't pretty. And I've been feeling a little bit better. And I actually started a video last week, but because of the aftermath of having a cold, the cough, I kept coughing during the whole video. So I just decided to wait. But I'm back, and I wanted to I want to try to pull. I already pulled a few cards earlier, and there were some nice little messages. So I really hope that can share those with you. What I wanted to talk about today, and I'm Christine. I'm the founder owner of Whispers of the Wounded Soul. I'm the author of Turning Wounds into Wisdom: Learning and Healing from Trauma. It's my life story cut short, just taking out a lot of the trauma I've experienced from before birth till last year. And I talk about the unhealthy coping mechanisms and numbing and all the things that I did to get through and survive. And then I talk about the things that I've learned in the past 2 decades to try to heal from that. And that's why it's, learning and healing from trauma. When we start to process those wounds, we can start healing from them. And it took me 58 years. I'm 59 now. And that's why I'm here sharing. Nobody wants to share their life story. No one wants to tell everyone these, deep, dark parts of my life. And it's all not even in there. In fact, it was so traumatizing writing it that I realized after it'd been published, I had to stop the publishing and fix a couple things as it was. And then I didn't even realize until I got a copy of my book and read it that I didn't talk about my father or my brother, which were important details, and you'll see if you read my book. So I am working on I was working on a full memoir, and I'm going to say was because as I'm going through, there's so many people that were in my life, and in this book I didn't use names. There's some people that are innocent bystanders, and even trying to keep names out of this, it was a little bit easier because I was just pulling bits and pieces. So I'm working on how I'm going to do this next book. It might be part 2 and filling in gaps and you'll see too if you start trying to work on trauma, especially from childhood on, things will start coming up even more as you're releasing other things and processing those other things. A lot more things are coming up now, actually some happier memories that I kind of, all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I forgot about that. And it was just such a nice memory, but I was carrying around so much baggage from all the other stuff that I didn't need to carry, that I didn't even have room for those happy memories to come in. So healing is amazing, and that's why I share again. So someone else might not have to wait 58 or 59 years. And then we have Whispers of Healing. It's a companion journal. But it's like shadow work questions to guide you through some traumas and things you might have been through in your life. It kind of goes by the chapters in this book, but you don't necessarily need to read the book to use the journal. And that's just to help, if you're ready. And I always say if you're already, under doctor's care, psychiatrist, psychologist, or therapy, and you're on medications, talk to them first to make sure, or if you know yourself that you're not there, that you're still severely depressed, then don't try to do shadow work because it was rough. I didn't even know I think I was ready during the healing because it was so severe. The crying was from my whole body, from my guts. I can't even describe. I've never cried so hard in my life as things were coming out and I was releasing. I was kind of journaling and typing and half writing a book. And that's how the book came about while I was doing my healing. So yeah, it's rough. So if you do want to do shadow work, just know you need to be ready because you're going to take the things that, hurt you, the things that you're carrying, and you're dissecting it technically. Why am I still carrying this? And is it serving me? What did it do to me? What did it do to me then? What is it doing to me now? I mean, when I say dissect, the more that you can process a pain, a trauma, um, you can start releasing it eventually, because it can't hold you anymore. And I'll talk about that a little bit too, about that we have more control over our thoughts. Our thoughts don't run our lives. Just because a thought comes into your head, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, that means you're supposed to do it. Um, we have control of those thoughts, and it's being mindful, it's self-aware. And when a thought arises, how am I going to react to the thought? Because again, the thought doesn't control you. The thought's not an emotion. You're deciding to react to it that way. And unfortunately, it is what it is. Even when I first started studying all of this, some of it sometimes, you're like, well, bullshit. It's not my fault, or you know what I mean. Yeah, it is, because once you start wanting to heal and you start becoming mindful, now you have control. Am I going to take this thought and go sit and cry all day over it when it's not going to serve me? It's not going to change anything. It's taking away from family. It's taking away from your pets. I mean, think about it. Unless you're all alone and you don't have pets or anything, but still, then it's taking away your life. And we deserve to live, even if we lost. And I've had a lot of loss. And I thought I didn't want to go on without this person. I don't want to I don't want to go on. We all go through, that grief that we don't want to be here anymore. The other person should be here, and it should be. I mean, we all go through it. But that's again something that was, taught to us, because they're at peace. They're not in pain. No matter the age, no matter whether you think they should have gone, somehow, some way, they did what they were here to do, and now you're still here. So just try to make the best of the time that you're here. I talk about it in other videos too. Yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not promised, but an hour from now and even 10 minutes from now is not promised. We never know what's going to happen. Trust me, I know, because the great loss that I have had since I was a kid, that just was nonstop, compounding loss and grief. And then, the blame and the guilt you carry because I didn't say this or I should have done that. That's all us beating ourselves up. They're called limiting beliefs. It's called self-sabotage. And we don't have to listen to those thoughts. They don't control us. And once you start learning that, it gets easier. It really does, because a thought will still come up, and sometimes you want to cry. I mean, it's okay to cry and to feel sad, but I mean, you can't live in it. Even things going on in the world today. There's things that I hear that all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, and then, no. It's probably, they're purposely, trying to get us to react, because they're getting, the news is getting views and getting, people are watching and turning on their channel and all that. But it's how you react, and if you decide, does this serve me right now? Because hey, tomorrow's not promised, yesterday's gone. What can I do right now to make myself happy, or make my pet happy, or my family, or anything? What makes you happy? Me cleaning and nurturing and taking care of people makes me happy. So I have to remember to take that time to rest and relax, because life's not about rushing around. It's not. It's easier said than done, because when we don't have a choice and we have to work and we have to take care of a home and all of that, I mean, there's no time in the day. But you have to, take a 5-minute bath. Close the bathroom door and turn on the shower, even if you don't go in, and sit and put some headphones on with some music and, zone out for a little bit. But any time, any moment that you can have to yourself, and just close your eyes and just be. I always say too, to take the deep breaths, in for 6, at least 5 or 6, and then you hold for 2 or 3 seconds. It doesn't have to be crazy, but the slower that you blow out your release, the more you're telling your body that you're safe, and, and that it can relax, that there's no danger around. It's calming your nervous system down. So anyway, yap, yap, yap. What I wanted to talk about today is, people who have gone through childhood trauma. I don't really want to say it this way, but it's a little harder, it's a little deeper to try to heal from. Someone who had, everyone has rough times. A lot of families have loss, and they have to move, and there's divorces and stuff, and those are traumatizing, very much. I'm talking about, deep psychological wounds and abandonment and neglect, all that kind of stuff. When a child doesn't have the nurturing and the love and the things that they're supposed to have before growing up and dealing with all of those things that everyone deals with, and that's part of the problem. Some people don't realize that or take that into account, and some people don't know because we tend to hide it. I have people now who have reached out to me that read my book that say they had no idea whatsoever that I was ever going through any of those things. They would have never known, because I hid it. I didn't want anyone to know. And there's even, I've gone to slumber parties, back in the day, and sleepovers that we had at certain people's houses, and then find out as an adult what was happening in their home too. So it's like we don't know. But what I wanted to talk about is before you're even born, if your mother is going through trauma, her abuse herself, if she's dealing with, betrayal, any of that, any stress that your mother is under while she's pregnant with you is literally forming in your nervous system already, and in your brain. It's already starting. You're sharing a nervous system, like you're sharing everything at that point. And also, they say, and this is something I'm still working on, this part about what a baby can hear, and know and feel. So that part I'm still working on, and there is proof of that, but I do know for a fact, because that's what I've been studying. Our brains are already developing, and our nervous system is developing while we're in the womb. So if your mother was under chronic stress or anything like that, you're already going to be born with some of that. And now, if you're born into a dysfunctional household, and not welcoming parents or any of that, or violence, or drug or alcohol abuse in your family, any of that, now that's compounding. When your brain is still developing up into your 20s, but the most crucial years, they say between birth to 7, the things that you were dealing with from birth to 7 is definitely rewiring your brain while it's developing. So our amygdala, which I talk about a lot, is the alert system that is constantly searching for danger. It's what's trying to protect us all the time. And when you're a baby, and then you're growing up with constant trauma, like I said, psychological trauma, child abuse, being beaten or hurt or any of that, molestation, anything, as you're dealing with that. And then there's questionnaires, which I actually have one on my intake form. If you ever decide to work with me, I use the same questions that they use in therapy, just to get an idea of how serious your trauma is. And the way the questions ask, they don't even ask how many times. They just ask if these things happened from, birth to age 12. And then what happened up to age 18. And it really matters. So what I'm trying to get at here is, when you're born and then you grow up through trauma, your brain is wired so that it's on high alert. I have my notes. So a child's brain is still developing. During childhood, billions of neural connections are forming as your brain learns how the world works. If a child grows up in an environment that's unsafe, unpredictable, or emotionally painful, the brain learns very early that danger may be everywhere. So it says the developing brain adapts to survive. The amygdala can become more sensitive to threat, and the hippocampus that stores the memories becomes more powerful, and that connects to a survival mode now. So now your amygdala and the part that's carrying your memories and everything, now that's heightened. Where did I leave off here? And the prefrontal cortex helps regulate emotions that are still developing, And then you're going to struggle with that whole alarm system. The whole thing is going to be off, because what happens is your prefrontal cortex, the one that does emotions and, thinks things through, decision making, all of that kind of, they kind of call it going offline. It's no longer even functioning. So your amygdala and your hippocampus, those two things are already telling you you're in danger, fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn, run, freeze up and go numb, whatever, however your body knows how to handle, how you learned growing up, is what's going to get triggered at that moment. And decisions and choices that you make, all of that is going to be made from that trauma wound, from how everything was wired. You're not going to respond to things the way a person would who didn't have chronic trauma. So it says, in other words, the brain rewires itself around survival. This is why many people who experience trauma early in life automatically expect danger, are always thinking negative. The brain is not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect you based on what it learned during development. Your body also plays a role in this process. The brain repeatedly activates the fight, flight, or freeze response, and your body's stress hormone system can become dysregulated. The system that releases cortisol and other stress hormones is designed to turn on during danger and then return to normal afterward. But when someone lives in survival mode for long periods of time, that system becomes overworked and starts functioning abnormally. Researchers have found that long-term stress can affect how the body regulates cortisol and other stress hormones, and over time, this deregulation can contribute to fatigue, chronic pain, inflammation, and conditions such as fibromyalgia, which is most of those things, and even sleeping disorders. This helps explain why trauma does not only affect thoughts, it affects the brain, the nervous system, and the body all working together. And understanding this can remove tremendous amounts of shame. And that is why I bring this up, because there's so many of us, and still to this day, even people who know my history, they'll do it to me too. You should have made a better choice. You're an adult now. That was when you were a kid. Get over it. But us hearing, well, you're an adult now. When you turn 18, your brain doesn't automatically, rewire to and start over from scratch. So now you're starting with an adult brain. It doesn't work that way. And these parts of your brain take over. So you literally, your prefrontal cortex, the thing that's going to help you with decision making, is offline, gone. So now those other two parts of your brain, you're going to make a decision, fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. And fawning is, over explaining and over loving and over giving, and everything's for everyone else. I've done and been through it all. That was why I wrote the book. I've been through every trauma that you can literally imagine. I seriously, there's very few things that I didn't experience. And it made me realize that how I was handling these things was not healthy at all. And I was to the point a few times in my life where I didn't want to even be here anymore. Last year, in March of 2025, I was at the very end of my rope. I was done. I gave up. Nothing was getting better. I was sick of hearing 58 years old and nothing got better. Oh, things get better. Oh, hang on. Oh, things are going to get better. And nothing did. Nothing changed at all. And things might change for a little while, and all of a sudden I realize here I am back in the same situation. Why do I keep making these same choices? So now that's not an excuse, oh, I did this because I had childhood. That's not an excuse, but it's an explanation, and it helps you, and it should, you would think, make the other person or other people think, wow, you've been through that much that your brain completely is rewired like that, and you really didn't have control. You don't have control at that moment. And that's why people, numb or fly off the handle, or start over explaining all the things, because that trigger comes on and their brain automatically does what they learned when they were a child to survive. Our brain is trying to keep us alive. So at a moment where someone would be like, well, I would have never done that, I wouldn't have chosen, your brain probably wasn't wired on trauma, and you might have, when your brain's not wired on trauma, like I was saying, it turns on and off from that trigger. When you hear something, oh, a door slams, and you're like, oh, and then you just go back to your, I will sit there and have to tell my body I'm okay, everything's okay. I'll have to calm myself down and talk myself down from a door slamming. And the same goes for, I've been studying too, working with youth and veterans. Veterans, the same thing. They hear, the fireworks or something, and all of a sudden they're back. That's not just or that's not them being and let me go. It brings me back here. Their body, their nervous system automatically brings them back. Then that part of their brain, the hippocampus, is going to start replaying what happened to them. And then the prefrontal cortex goes offline, and now they don't even know what they're doing. That's what I mean. It's really, it really, I was so thankful when I read this and studied this and learned this, because that's why I'm here sharing it, because it can help you. And the thing is, now that you know this, now that you know that your brain was rewired, now you can work on rewiring it, back to positive things. And you can bring yourself down to calmness. You can start rewiring those thoughts. And I do that one-on-one. You can, message me or whatever if you want to work with me. whispersofthewoundedsoul@gmail.com is my email. I just got my NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Practitioner certification, which I had been studying for, and I just completed that. And all it is hypnosis with like an anchor. So what you're doing is, you're bringing yourself to a calm state. You're taking that thought that's been, dragging you around or harassing you, because we're the worst critics to ourselves. We're our own worst critic. We beat ourselves up constantly. You can learn to take those self-limiting and, sabotaging thoughts and turn them around and rewire them. You really can, because I've been doing it. And the only reason I share is because I'm sharing what works, and it's worked for me, and nothing did. I've been on all the medications. I was diagnosed bipolar years back after a tragic accident with the love of my life. I lost him. And the next thing I know, the next time I went to the doctor, I was on antidepressants because I was depressed. And then when I said I was having a good day and I felt like I wanted to go do something, all of a sudden I was manic and I was bipolar, and now I'm on all these medications. I was grieving and I was having a good day. There's a difference between being told you have bipolar disorder and actually having the chemical imbalance that causes certain disorders in the brain. But a lot of times it's those who grew up with chronic trauma and had trauma throughout their adulthood, so that parts of their brain had never turned off, it never got rewired, and it was still sitting in that same way. So yeah, you can rewire those thoughts, and I do tapping, and I've done a couple videos on here, and there's the hypnosis. And I got a belief clearing practitioner certification back in 2021, and I wasn't even using it on me. I was still living up till, like I said, last year, 2025, depressed and feeling like I was, why me? Why does everything always happen to me? You have to be grateful and thankful for what you do have, first of all. And again, it was how I was responding to everything. Because once I started changing those thoughts and being positive, more positive things started kind of happening around my life, and opportunities were arising. Did I just have a major tower moment? Yeah, I'm starting from scratch. But that too, I took that as, wow, it's giving me a brand new slate. I've learned all of these lessons. I've learned all these different ways to heal. I know I have boundaries now. I know I have self-worth. And that was the thing too. I searched for love everywhere. I was 19, 20 years old reading a book called Please Somebody Love Me. I was abandoned by my parents. There was neglect. There was all of that. I had grandparents and aunts and uncles that, stepped in, but it wasn't my mom. It wasn't my parents. And then I was abandoned by my real father when I found out. I mean, it's just been chronic trauma. Divorces and all of that. Like I said, those are the things that, people deal with. Unfortunately, it's almost like it's a part of life now. But, compounded on top of before I was even born, all the way up till 58 years old. After a while, you're like, I give up. I've had enough. But something pulled me, something kept me here. And I talk about that in my book too. There was always something, a song, a person, just a thought, just something just kept saying, don't give up. And I'm thankful that I didn't, because again, I'm still sitting here right now, and now I can share, 2 decades of tools with you in my life, so that you're not alone. I've had people say, you don't know it all, and you're not the answer, and all these different things. I never claimed to be. I'm still healing. After I was just sick for those few weeks, I got down in the dumps for a couple days and had to really talk to myself. Like I said, the self-awareness. Why am I thinking that? Why am I doing this? Get my ass outside. And I did. I took my shoes off, and I did that today. The grass is wet. It's a little bit cold. Took my shoes off and walked around in the grass, and just stood there a little bit, closed my eyes, and just grounded with the earth, which helps release toxins and everything. It's amazing. But I just do whatever I can now to force myself out of that, because we have control of our mind. Our thoughts don't control us. We have that control. When you even think about it and you're talking to yourself, who is it that's talking? Who is this person that's questioning? Who is this person that's saying, oh, this is how it, who there, because there's a higher self. We're not our body. We're not our mind. Wayne Dwyer says that. I'm not even, he says, I am not the body, and I am not even the mind. And you're supposed to inhale. I am not the body, in your head. I am not even the mind. Over and over again. I am not the body. I am not even the mind. Repeat that over and over. It's calming. And I mean, these people, thousands of people out there studying this. The military has things that they were studying. I found the redacted documents because I'm always wanting to know more. I don't just want to hear that this works or this does this, and I'm like, oh, okay. I want to know how, when, who, why. I've been like that since I was a kid. So anyway, yeah. So there's just so much more to healing that trauma, and my main reason, like I said, I wanted to share this because I don't want anyone carrying around guilt for decisions they made. And then those people, if someone's watching and you've said that to someone, well, you're an adult now, you should have made a better decision, or get over it, you were a kid, or I've had death too, or I've had this too. No, you don't compare. And someone who had chronic, trauma, their brain's wired differently. And again, it's not an excuse for what they've done, but hell, it gives us an explanation, and now we know we can work on it. If you're hearing this and you're like, oh, okay, that's me. That's me. I was definitely went through all kinds of shit, and I definitely was wired in trauma. And now that makes sense why I make these stupid decisions over and over again. That loop, that spiral. And then you just continue, and then you go climb in bed, or now you're going to take your anger or something out, a trigger on somebody else. Why were you late? Where were you? Because someone else did it to you. You're choosing now. Once you hear this, now you're making a conscious decision to not try to heal it, to just let it consume you. Let the news consume you, let something someone said consume you. I've had people say all kinds of things to me, and I've taken it all day long, even, 8 o'clock at night. I can't even believe she said that. Stop. I just carry that around all day. Why? It's not serving me. It's causing me stress. Stress kills. Stress from trauma and all that hurts your organs. the more stress you had as a child, the more chance you have of heart disease, inflammation in your body, all of that, like I talked about. So you finding this out and then continuing to hold the stress, it's you either want to heal or you don't. It is what it is. So I've already spent 30 minutes, so I'm just going to read the one card for you then real quick, okay? Because I don't want to take too much of your time. But this was from my Moon Oracle, and the card I picked was Rejoice. I thought I had it saved. So it says, celebrate, triumph, and glory. Delight in the color palette of the evening sky at sunset as the glorious sun slips below the horizon. Relish the soft pastel painted sky at dawn as the sun returns in her glory to inspire you to seize another amazing day. It's a new beginning to start fresh and bask in the miracles set forth just for you. Walk with the rhythm of the earth, celebrate the divine glory reborn each and every day. Optimism, uplifting gestures, and positive sentiments are being offered from the universe. Look for simple gifts in nature and in your own life that move your joy-filled spirit. All of your heightened senses will be delighted, and you will know that you are alive. And the intention is rejoice with gratitude, elation and delight for each day that you are given on this enchanting, glorious earth. And, that's kind of what I was saying. Go, you have a choice. Enjoy what we have. Or, I stood out there one day and I was looking for the lines in the sky because people are talking about this. And then I'm hearing that and I'm here. And I start, and I was like, no. Like, that's what I mean. I do it too. I'm still healing. So I would say, no, it's beautiful out. Look at the beautiful sky right now. And I could smell the fresh air and the flowers. And then I could hear the birds. And the next thing you know, I was smiling and I'm standing there in my yard. And I've said before, I'll kind of cross my arms and act like I'm looking at the roof or plants or something because I don't want people to think I'm out of my mind. I mean, this lady's just standing in the middle of her yard. Like that with bare feet, but it makes me happy. It makes me feel good going for a walk. A friend of mine, the one day I had mentioned something about she said, I have no ambition. I said, just get up and get out. And she went and walked her dogs, and she said she felt better, because you're out there and you're releasing the good endorphins. So let's just do, we'll do one of these. The mindful oracles real quick. So this one is believe. You are being asked to fully believe in yourself and your dreams. It is time for the ideas that's lived inside your heart to be brought out into the world so others can benefit from it. Believe that you can bring it to life, and you will do exactly that. And then the other one that had fallen out was comfort. How can you bring more comfort into your life? You can increase your comfort through tangible things such as soft clothes and food, and intangible things such as thinking loving thoughts about yourself and inviting peace into your heart. So I wanted to share those. And again, I'm sorry I was gone so long. I'm going to do another video in a little bit and talk about my book a little bit more. But thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing and liking and following. I have my Whispers of the Wounded Soul Facebook page, and I do try to, add the links at the bottom of these videos, but sometimes by the time it uploads, I forget to go back, so I'll go back and look. But other previous videos do have my links if you're interested. So have a good day, make it a good day, and don't beat yourself up for decisions you made. Be proud of yourself for still standing and still being alive, because if you've experienced trauma through your entire child and adulthood, I get it, and it's draining and it's tiring, and it's like enough is enough. But we have to be the ones to change it for ourselves. We have to love us. stop looking for love. That's what I started to say before. I now love me. I don't need love from anyone else to make me feel complete. And I used to say that, oh, now you complete me. Now I'm completed. Oh, now you complete me. Trying to look for this love. No, I complete me. And now I am filled with me and love and all of that, that I can actually give real love out if I want or I'm ready. But you can't give love out and you can't be loved if you don't love and respect yourself. And you don't need validation from anyone else. Love yourself and forgive yourself first. Forgive yourself for everything you did to survive and to be standing here today. And now take that and turn those wounds into wisdom, turn them into healing, turn them into helping someone else. See someone who's down or whatever, offer a smile, offer a hey, do you need to talk? That's how we change the world, by reaching out, and not always me, and I'm the victim, and I this and that. I could have turned all the things that happened to me around and been a very nasty person. I always was negative in my own head, but it was against myself. I was the fawner, people pleasing, and and also I've done fight, flight, and freeze, and fawn, all of them. But I fawn a lot, over explaining and over apologizing, over loving, giving everything that I have and not leaving anything for myself, and to people who didn't really reciprocate. And it's not about that, I don't give love or whatever because I want it in return, but you know what I mean. When you just give and give and give and give, and it doesn't seem like there's any real understanding or compassion for other things, it gets rough. But anyway, thanks again, guys. I will talk to you guys all soon. Watch for my next video. I'm going to pull a few more cards, and then I'm also going to talk about my book. Have a good day, guys. Thank you.